Yeah, do this. Yeah. All right. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Adam, back at you. It is Tiny Housin Volume 40, and I'm just queuing them up. I'm bouncing from one thing to the next. This is April 2nd when I'm filming these intro bits. And so the last intro bit, you can see I made some cold brew coffee. I got pretty damn good supply of coffee brewing. 4 of those are brewing right now. 2 of those are in my current swig. I was going to make some iced tea tonight, but I didn't want to make simple syrup because I just got done cleaning up all the dishes and whatnot. Now all I have to do is fill these water bottles with this water filter here, and I'll be done with the dishes for the night. It's going to take a bit. That water filter is a slow roll. I'm just going to give that a few minutes to keep filtering some water, and I may not even be able to fill all those bottles tonight, but I'm going to try. My next order of business is getting these clothes folded and put away. I might just put the phone on the little thing and show you how those folding boards work while I talk to you all. But, yeah, everything's a little bit out of sync right now. So I'm just going through the motions, trying to get some stuff done. I cross off a couple things on my to-do list that I have to do on the computer. I get up, I do the dishes, I get up, I do this stuff, I push another video up and I'm scheduling them now. So I'm going to try and schedule them every day. And I'm getting so far ahead on the recording of them that if I schedule one a day, I'll be able to make up for the days that I don't have any energy to do this stuff, and you won't be getting 5-hour-long videos. Instead, you'll get a smaller dose of content on a more regular basis. And if I can get into that rhythm, if I can just, I don't know, I feel a lot better today than I did yesterday in terms of energy. As the day goes by, I get more energy. It is very tiring to go through this process that I'm going through right now. I'm going to get to the point where hopefully I can make a productive phone call tomorrow and get some good news on one of the fronts I'm working on. And maybe I can make some adjustments in the next couple of weeks to make this stuff a little bit more manageable. But I'm happy knowing that last Sunday I got the bicycles done and I got productive things done, got the grocery shopping done, cleaned up the place a little bit. And so by the time Sunday gets here this week, I'll be back to like regular schedule. I shouldn't have to completely deep clean the tiny house for I didn't have to do it last weekend. 2 weeks in a row before that really threw me off. Losing that day to having to do that. Time is just really tight right now, and anything that gets in the way or interrupts my flow causes a ripple effect that just goes right down the lane. And, it's like a snowball. You start rolling a snowball down a mountain. It might be the size of your hand when it starts rolling, but by the time it gets to the bottom of the mountain, it's big enough to bulldoze over the ski lodge. So, I'm just gonna keep plowing away, but I'm really hoping that by Sunday, things have chilled out to the point where I can just take a chill day, go to church. Maybe it's not going to be bicycle maintenance day. I might do a couple of small things there. I need to put water bottle cages on the Silver Bullet. That's the only thing I truly want to do. And I have to ride the Silver Bullet on Friday because I need to make good time. I'm going to go to my friend's house after work because I've got to pick up my birth certificate that New York State put in the mail and sent me. He's holding it right now as I speak. The birth certificate that I ordered last October so that I could get my driver's license down here. So I'll have 2 copies of my birth certificate. Maybe one of them is better than the other. One of them came from the county I was born in, and it worked. It got me my driver's license. The other one is coming from the state. Maybe it's more official, but whatever. I will have that shit locked up tighter than the gold that's not in Fort Knox. My birth certificates will be better protected than the empty vaults in Fort Knox. That's all I gotta say. And I'm just gonna patch this. I'm gonna upload this little intro to my computer and splice it in with the next video and do what's got to be done there. All right, what's going on? It's your boy Adam. It is Tiny Housin, Volume 40, and I'm dead. If you watched Tiny Housin Volume 36, the little intro where I walk into the house was recorded just before I sat down to do this. I had to do a couple of things in between. Right now, Volume 36 is saving out of Adobe Premiere. And then I'll have to upload it to YouTube, and then it probably won't even go live until tomorrow, to be honest. So I'm just, whenever I feel like talking, I'm going to sit and talk. I'm going to cap it to like an hour. I'm going to try and keep it into like one topic. But they're all going to be out of sync in terms of... so there's 36. Volume 36 is getting ready to go up. And it probably won't even be up until tomorrow. This is Volume 40. So there's 3 other ones that I need to compile and export and push up. Maybe I'll put them all up on a single day. I don't know. And it wasn't because people were bitching at me for making videos that were 5 hours long. I don't want to do that anymore because I don't feel like doing that. Me personally, I wouldn't want to have to figure out where I left off and, I don't know. I mean, I listen to podcasts that are 3 hours long. I don't know how long Joe Rogan's podcast is, but I think he does it every day. And I want to say it's a few hours every day. The No Agenda podcast is 3 hours, and it's twice a week. They do it live. So, I mean, it's not unheard of to have long shows and long things, but it just... I don't know. I think it's more interesting when there's 2 people having a conversation, like an interview or something like that, than a dude sitting in a chair talking about shit. So, I'm still trying to figure out my way. And as you can see, my place is a bit trashed because today I was up. I kept waking up, but I kept going back to sleep. Finally got out of bed at like 8 or 9 a.m., somewhere in that range, but I didn't want to move. In fact, I was up at 8 a.m. sitting in the chair here because I know Home Depot opened at 8 a.m. So I had to go to Home Depot and on my bicycle, on my Red Rocket. This thing is from like 1980. It was manufactured between 1986 and 1989. I just can't... The serial number on these particular bikes, the way they put the serial number on the bike and then painted over it, the serial number is very, very hard to read. I'm literally going to have to use like CIA, CSI, image enhancement techniques to try and pull the serial number out, which will give me the exact date that the bike was made. But right now it's between 1986 and 1989 for sure. Where your water bottles mount to your frame on most modern bicycle shop quality bicycles and even Walmart bikes now, where you screw your water bottle to the frame. It's called a riv nut. It's basically a nut and a rivet at the same time. And so they're basically, what they do is they drill a hole in the tubing of the frame, and then they put this riv nut. It's a rivet, but it's also a nut. And so you push that thing into the frame and you use a special tool to squeeze it tight. And it's like a rivet in the sense that it grips the tubing, both the inside and outside of the tubing wall, but it also has threads inside of it so that you can put a bolt into it. And so the bolts that attach your water bottle to the frame of your bike, they go into those nuts. But those are replaceable. They're not easy to replace, but they're not terribly difficult either. So what happened on my Cannondale, and this happened years ago. I've been dealing with this for a long time. The water bottle on the seat tube, the water bottle screws, the riv nuts are loose. And so no matter how tight you tighten the water bottle screws into the frame, the water bottle cage rattles. And so back in the day, I was in a hurry one day, and I folded up some duct tape, and I created a way to tighten it up and to make it so it didn't wobble anymore. And that little ghetto fix held solid for years. I think I did that ghetto fix in 2012, and I haven't touched it since, and now it's 2025. I mean, this is like how long that ghetto, duct tape fix worked. But over the last couple of weeks, it's been getting a little bit wobbly as I ride, and it's mainly because I'm holding a decent I'm holding a speaker in that water bottle mount now. And, I think it weighs less than a water bottle full of water would weigh, but it's just, I've been riding so many miles that it's just gotten loose. And so they make a special tool for that. But what you can also do is you can go and you can use a water bottle screw that's long enough, along with a nut and a washer, and you put I'll verbally describe it. You put a water bottle screw that's long, you put a nut on that, and on the washer in between the nut and the frame of the bicycle. Then you screw the nut, or you screw the screw into the riv nut, and then holding it with an Allen key, you basically turn the nut, the octagonal nut on the screw until it tightens up against the frame, and you just keep tightening and tightening and tightening, and it will force the innards of that rivet to compress again and to tighten up against the inside wall of the tubing. And so basically it's a $3 version of an expensive tool. And I would have got the tool for it, but Amazon couldn't deliver it today. The soonest I'd be able to get it is Monday. And I'm like, no, I want to fix this today. So there's two riv nuts, and they were both loose. The top one, I couldn't fix it completely. I just couldn't get it to, something inside just told me, don't tighten this thing down too much because it feels like it might break inside the tubing. At which point, then I got to take the seat post out, turn the frame upside down, pull the shattered part of the nut out of the tube, and then I have to order a new riv nut, and then, go through the whole hassle of installing it and all that. And I'm like, this one, it just wouldn't tighten, and it just had this, kind of feel like, don't over tighten, don't wrench down on this thing too much, or you might hear ping inside of your frame, and you're in for a bigger problem than you already had. But the bottom one of the two tightened right up, 3 turns of the wrench, and it's solid, and the riv nut is tight against the frame again. And then I messed around with the top one again, and I'm like, it was kind of loose, but it was better than it was. And I'm like, if I put a water bottle cage on here and then tighten it all up, it's probably going to be nice and tight and snug to the frame again. It might loosen up months from now. Maybe it'll, that was 2012, the last time I ghetto fixed it, and it held up for 13 years. So maybe I go another 13 years without having to mess with this. But anyway, when I was all said and done, the water bottle cage fits really tight to the frame now, and I was able to get rid of that duct tape contraption that looked really stupid, and so now it looks nice and clean. I cleaned the water bottle cages, I lubricated the bolts so that they're not going to seize up inside the frame or anything, and just gave it a little TLC. Hopefully it's good for it. I don't plan on changing those water bottle cages. I like them. I'm going to see if that thing holds together for another 10 years before I have to mess with it again. Awesome. If for some reason I feel like that riv nut, if it starts to loosen up or starts to give me a problem, it shouldn't be too much of a hassle to, I can zip tie the water bottle cage to the frame on that, where that top bolt is, if I need to ghetto fix it for a short period of time, and then I can order the part from Amazon. But it would be, it's just another afternoon project to replace that riv nut on that frame with a new one, but it's not something that's impossible to do. It's just, I don't feel like, I had other things I wanted to get done today. So the second thing, I had to go to Home Depot to get the parts to make that ghetto tool to fix my bike. Come back from Home Depot. That's a nice long walk. It's like 80 degrees and pretty humid today. I wore jeans and a heavy t-shirt, and by the time I got back, that shit went straight to the dirty clothes. I got into some shorts and a lightweight shirt, set up on the back patio. We have this back patio here behind the main house where there's some outdoor furniture, and there's a TV mounted on the back wall of the house, and there's it's a concrete patio, but it's got a awning a metal awning over it. So I set up a nice workspace, like my portable workspace, with a folding table, the air pump, a bag of tools, some cleaning supplies and lubricants and stuff like that, a little stool, and then there's chairs out there already. I turned on some auto racing just to have something on the TV to keep my mind off of the fact that I'm slaving away outside and kind of bored and just wanting to be. I don't want to do any of this today. I just want to chill. My two options today were, I made up my mind where if the weather was bad, if I woke up and it was thunderstorming out and pouring rain and I could hear rain hitting the tin roof, I was going to stay indoors all day, turn on some movies, and just make it a 0 day, recover, just completely do absolutely nothing or as close to nothing as I could possibly get away with. Or if the weather cooperates and it's a nice day, I'm going to go get the bikes done, but I'm going to get both of them done. So the Red Rocket, the Cannondale, needed new brake pads, and it has old style cantilever brakes. Those are and these particular brakes, everything about the brakes on that bike are kind of finicky. I don't like working on them. It's not difficult work, it's just time consuming and, like I said, finicky, and everything has to be done just right. And I also replaced the brake cables, and I took things apart and cleaned and lubricated and just did maintenance that probably hasn't been done since, I would assume, since 2012 or maybe longer than that. So that some of this maintenance may not have been done for 15 to 20 years. I don't even know anymore. I know that the brake cable that I replaced for the rear brake is an old one. It had a special coating on it, and I hated these brake cables. And I just remember how much I hated them, and they never felt right, even when they were new. And when I pulled it out, I was like, oh, I remember these things. And when I put the new cable on, I was squeezing the brake lever. I'm like, man, this is so much better. This is like night and day. There's some other things. I think I need to replace the chain. When I put that bike together originally, I had a triple crank set in the front with a really small chain ring for the tiny gear up front. And then I switched to a double chain ring. And the derailleur, I had to set the chain at a certain length so it would work with all the different gearing ranges. But now that I only have the double up front, the derailleur is being stretched out too far. So if I get a new chain, I can make the chain a little bit longer and put a little bit less stretch on the rear derailleur because the gearing range is a lot shallower than it used to be. But it's kind of risky when you change a chain on a drivetrain that hasn't had a chain changed out in a long time. It could be a chain reaction, no pun intended, where I'll have to replace the rear cogs and the chain rings at the same time because all these parts wear out together. And sometimes you can change the chain and put a new chain on and it just works and there's no problems and you're good to go. Sometimes you put a new chain on and it just starts skipping, like while you pedal, the chain will just start slipping on the rear cogs and it'll start slipping on the chain rings, and it's bad news. It sucks if that happens. I don't know. I feel like there's a better chance it would work than not work because I take care of my stuff fairly well. But that chain it's hard. You really don't know until you know. And so that could be it could be a time-consuming and expensive, it could be more expensive than just replacing a chain. It could end up being replacing a chain and then gears in the back and gears up front. And, at the end of the day, it's not horrible, especially with the old bike parts that, this is older stuff, so it's available and it's not as expensive as it used to be. But it's more than I want to spend right now. But I'm not, it's going to be at least a month before I, put that on my to-do list. And then the Silver Bullet, this brand new specialized road bike that I picked up, didn't need anything. It just needed TLC. When I put it on the work stand, I had a few ideas of what it was going to need in terms of a tune-up, and it pretty much was exactly what I thought. I had to put air in the tires. I had to clean it up. The brakes were a little bit out of adjustment. The rear derailleur and shifting was perfect, but the shifting up front was really loose. The cable was stretched. I had to readjust the front derailleur and the front shifter. But that didn't take very long at all. And those brakes are much easier to work on. So the brakes and gears, I checked a bunch of different safety things, like made sure the quick releases on the wheels were tightened properly and in the right positions, and made sure that my crank arms and pedals were tight against the crank arms and the bottom bracket, and just checked a bunch of other random things for just safety reasons. And so from there, all it needed was, after it was cleaned and I put some of the wax lubricant on the chain. That should dry overnight, and then as I ride tomorrow, it'll start flaking off and flinging wax all over the place. But it'll keep my chain nice and clean. And then I just had to adjust the pedal tension, which I knew right off the bat. The guy had all these stickers on the bike from like the Ride for the Cure for Cancer kind of crap, and all these rides that he had been on. He had all these stickers on the stem from all these different Ride for Cancer rides that he went on. And I'm like, if he's one of these like Ride for the Cure Cancer guys, his pedal tension was going to be so loose that if I started riding with my bike shoes, my feet are going to come right off the pedals as I'm cranking down. And sure enough, when I got out the Allen wrench and started looking at the pedal, started to set the pedal tension, he had them as loose as they could possibly be set. And I'm like, if I'd started riding my bike like that tomorrow, literally, I would have gone like 100 yards down the road and my feet were going to come flying off the pedals. So they're the same exact pedals that I have on the Red Rocket. And on the Red Rocket, they're tightened the tension is as tight as they can possibly go. And so on the new bike, I tightened all the spring tension on the pedals to as tight as it would possibly go. And then I still had to adjust the seat height and the seat position. So I made sure to test the pedals, the tension of clicking in and clicking out of the pedals with my shoes to make sure that they were at the right tension. And sure enough, yeah, that was a bit like, if I had forgotten to do that, I would have been pissed off tomorrow, but I would have had a tool in my backpack to be able to set the tension to the right tension. They're like ski bindings. I don't know if you've ever gone skiing before. They have tools. If you rent skis at the ski shop, they will set the tension based on your weight, your height, and based on what kind of skiing they'll ask you what type of skier you are. Are you beginner, intermediate, or expert? Always say expert, even if you're a beginner, because if you're a beginner, here's a handy tip. If you ever go skiing and when you rent skis, if they ask you beginner, intermediate, or expert, always tell them expert. The reason why is they don't give a fuck about how good you are of a skier. They're trying to figure out how to set the tension on your ski bindings. And if you tell them you're a beginner, you're going to be skiing down a slope and your skis are just going to pop right off your boots because they're going to have the tension set so light on your ski bindings that just making a turn on your skis will be enough sideways torsion to snap your boot right out of the ski. So you want to tell them that you're an expert just so that the bindings snap into the boots and they have a good connection and they're not going to come free. Believe me, they will come free if you have a crash or a fall. Basically what they're going to do as a beginner is, if you're going down like the bunny slope and you fall, but you don't like twist your ankle or whatever, just a casual fall, like, ha 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 ha, I fell in the snow, they're going to pop out. But you don't want that. You don't want them to be so loose. That's actually, that's more dangerous than having bindings that don't release when you crash, which is also dangerous. You only want them to come off in two situations. One, when you push down with your ski pole on the back of the binding to release the boot, or in a crash, if you fall, like hard fall. Otherwise, you don't want those things to come off, because if your skis come off while you're skiing, that's obviously not a good thing, and you could twist your ankle and break a leg just from that. It's the same thing with a bicycle. You don't want your feet to come out of those pedals if you use those kind of pedals, unless you have a crash or unless you purposely want to get out of the pedals. And to get out of a bicycle pedal, you twist your foot to the side and you hear a click and your foot comes out of the pedal. It's real easy to do. It takes a little bit of practice, but it doesn't take much. But having cleats if your cleats come out while you're pedaling when you don't want them to, it could actually cause you to crash, and you can end up breaking your collarbone because your pedal tension is too light and your feet came out. Like, let's say you get up out of the seat and start hammering down to go fast, and your foot comes out of the pedal because it just slips out and you didn't expect it to, and now your ball sack hits the top tube of your bike while your face hits the handlebars, and you break a tooth, flip over the handlebars, and break your collarbone, and maybe break your elbow in the process. So set your bindings tight, set your pedals tight enough that they're not going to come out for any other reason other than you told them to come out. Or if you crash, they're going to pop right out. If I got into a bad enough bicycle crash, the shock of that my shoes will come right off. but they're not going to come off unless I want them to or crash. But anyway, so thank God I did that before I went on my ride tomorrow. Made sure that the pedal tension was set right. And then it's a guessing game when it comes to your seat position. And the only way you're really going to know if it's good, handlebar position and seat position, the only way I'm going to know it's good is to go for a ride and adjust it as I go. I'll probably pull over a couple of times tomorrow and tweak some things, but I'll have a tool with me to do that. My handlebars and stem are the nice thing about this bike is it's very customizable, the riding position on this bike, so I can really dial in the handlebars and seat position to exactly where I want it to be. And over time, time will tell me what to do, but 5 minutes sitting on the back porch up against the wall, just kind of checking my position by looking down, it's only going to get me so far. But it's definitely good enough to get on my bike and ride tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Before I sat down and started talking to you guys, I started exporting a video. I've got all these lights over here. I got my bottle of orange juice. I'm stocking up on my vitamin C's. Got my lights charging for tomorrow morning. And my bike pack is going to be a little bit different because the Silver Bullet I don't have a way to really put the speakers. I can make a choice. I can take a bottle of iced coffee, cold brew coffee, or I can put a speaker on the bike, and coffee wins. So I got to figure out, I'm probably not going to be able to, if I take a speaker to listen to, it's probably going to be strapped to my backpack or strapped on my backpack strap, like right here. Maybe I can listen to a podcast. Maybe I don't want to listen to music because it's a brand new bike and I just want to hear the drivetrain. I just want to ride the bike. I don't need... Just riding a brand new bike will be interesting enough that I don't really feel like... I don't think I'll need music, at least for the ride to work. And then for the ride home, I can probably figure out something to... I can strap a speaker to my backpack and just listen to one speaker on the way home. That's not a big deal. It's just going to be nice to have a different bike to ride. I'm not going to go balls to the wall. I'm going to be a little bit chill. But I'll probably hammer down on the pedals at some point when I feel some confidence. I feel like it's a faster bike. It's more compact. It's like a road racing bike geometry wise. It's gonna feel like I'm on a road racing bike. It's probably, if I actually put some effort into pedaling this thing, I'll probably break a lot of my Strava records on the different segments to and from this job. Overall, I feel like the bike, for the same amount of effort, I think it'll get me to work and back 10 minutes faster each way. That's my prediction. If it's going to glide so much faster on these roads. But it's not going to be as... the Red Rocket's not a tank. It's not a mountain bike. But it's a little bit more forgiving than a road racing bike will be. Can't hit a pothole with this thing. A pothole would totally, boom, there goes your wheel. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes tomorrow. So I got the bicycles done. I went over to Target with my big backpack. I did my grocery shopping. I got a bunch of random things that were on my list, but I know at least one or two nights this week, I'm going to make some chili dogs. And I'm not going to make my own chili this time. I got a couple of cans of the Hormel chili. And what I'll do is, and I got a tiny 1 1/4 quart saucepan for my dual burner that I cook on. So now I have it's not a 2 quart. I don't know. I have a regular size saucepan and then I got this tiny little one. So I can cook 2 things at once. So I can boil the sausages, the bratwurst, cheddar dogs, and the the one pot with water. That's how I've been cooking them lately. They come out fine like that. I would rather grill them or throw them in like, if I can get a toaster oven. The one that I want and the one that I should buy are two completely different things. So I'm going to have to see what I can do there. I want if I'm going to buy one, I want the Breville convection oven that I used to have at my old house. But those things are closing in on $300. I don't know. I'm also thinking about getting a slow cooker, just a crock pot, a cheap crock pot. You can get those for like $20. I can probably get one of those for $10 at the thrift store around the corner. There's a Goodwill down the way. I might go see what they have at Goodwill. I have to go tomorrow. I have to stop and do some stuff on my way home from the job. Maybe it would make sense to take a stop at Goodwill just to see what they have. And I know in the last video I may have mentioned it, they're supposed to come on Tuesday this week to give me hot water. So I'm going to get into some of the things that have been going on in the last few days, but I may have to leave the tiny house to go do some things on Tuesday, and I have a few things in mind that I will do on that day. I'm having issues with my T-Mobile internet. They sent me a new router. I have to take the old router back to the T-Mobile store before they charge me a fee for not returning it. And I have plenty of time, but Tuesday would be the perfect day to go walk over there and do that. And at the same time, I could walk all the way to Goodwill, see if I can get myself a crock pot and a rice cooker for dirt cheap. Cheaper than Amazon, cheaper than Target, cheaper than Walmart, We'll just see what they got. Because somebody brought in a pot roast to work one day with some mashed potatoes, and I was like, ooh. I was like, no, I want a slow cooker. Because now I'm like, I could pick up a roast when I go grocery shopping, throw that thing in a crock pot. I would only do it because of the goofy shit going on with the electricity in this neighborhood. I wouldn't trust a crock pot to cook while I'm gone. I used to do that all the time, but I would throw a roast in early in the morning, and then, on one of the days where I'm working from home, throw a roast in when I have my morning coffee with some carrots, some corn, some red, the little red potatoes, and whatever else makes sense, and throw it on the low setting for 6 hours, and have a wonderful, oh my God, that would taste so good right now. And a rice cooker with a steamer is the one that I'm looking at. And it's $20. So even if I found a slow cooker for $10, a crock pot, and I got a rice cooker, they have one at Target and they have one on Amazon. They're both $20, and it has a steamer basket assembly so that you can cook your rice and steam some vegetables at the same time. There's lots of ways to cook without having an oven or a stove. That would really be a boost to my system here. Toaster oven wise, you can get a toaster oven cheap. The one that I want, I don't know. It's money wise, I want to get a car, and I'm still in the settling in phase of moving. I really wish I would have been able to get a car before I left my friend's house and then went and got a place to live, because I had enough money to go buy a car. And just the way everything worked out, it just wasn't meant to be. But I really wished that I could have had a car first and then immediately went and found a place to live, because I would have had money left over, especially if I had bought a car that came with a car payment. But I don't know, maybe God just wants to kick my ass and get my fitness together, because, if maybe God's forcing me to ride my bike so much and to kind of like get myself in shape to prevent me from having a heart attack or some sort of fat person disease or cancer or who knows what. Maybe he's putting me on boot camp right now to, improve my health so that I live longer, so that whatever plans that he has in store, I won't die before those plans are fulfilled. I don't know. And that leads right into what I really wanted to talk about today, half an hour into the video. But I said I was going to try and peg these to about an hour. And I've talked in recent videos about how, and I watched a sermon about this, and I've heard other people talking about it, and the topic just keeps popping up. And I had another little revelation about it. It was probably today or yesterday and today combined, but when you're about to level up, when a door is about to be unlocked for you, sometimes, and I find this happens a lot, the whole world feels like it's coming undone. Everything feels like it's falling apart. Everything is collapsing. Everything is going wrong. Everything is falling apart. And it feels like your whole life is unraveling and you're basically falling down the side of a mountain and you can't stop yourself. And it just feels like chaos and out of control, and everything's just completely haywire. Like, you're trying to get to the next level and you feel like you're just falling apart, and everything is completely unraveling, and you're going the exact opposite of the direction you want to go. And as I sit here saying those words, I can think of one after the next, 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 after the next. I've just thought of like 20 different times in my life where that was true, where I just felt like everything was falling apart and everything was completely blowing up in my face and just stumbling and falling, and everything's a mess, and I'm gonna completely hit rock bottom and everything else, all those different thoughts, and then boom, the door opens and you level up, you get to the next level. I feel like that's happened 3 times since I got out of prison, which it's the 30th of March right now as I record this video. And on April 2nd, that will be the day I was released from prison. April 3rd will be the first day that I was home. Whatever the hell that meant at the time. But, honestly, the first day I was home was February 1st of this year, because I didn't have a home until then. So that's kind of profound. But what I'm going to get at is I got out of prison. Let's just forget about what happened behind the barbed wire. The first day of your life begins the day you come home, or the day you're released. And so there's 3 times. The first time was, getting out of prison. You're a noob. Let's just say it's a brand new video game. You've never played it before. You're on level 1. You're doing all the tutorial things, like you're learning how to play the game. You're learning the buttons on the controller. The mission's really easy, like the thing's literally telling you, walk over here, pick up this thing, shoot that guy, do this, do that, do the other thing. And then all of a sudden it gets hard. And you might die. You might have to start the level over. Or you get to a point where you can't get any farther. And you get pissed off, you get frustrated, you get... Well, let me skip ahead a little bit. Let me come back to that thought. So I come home from prison, and I'm living with the most awful human being I've ever known in my life for about, I guess 3 fucking weeks, and then she tosses me to the curb to be homeless. And like, I never had a fucking chance to get on my feet at that point. It was like, you just got home from prison, and this person is being so incredibly horrible. Like, you're about to... I already knew on the day I came home that I was going to be homeless. I just didn't know exactly when. And I'm like scrambling, trying to put something together to prevent that from happening. But it was the inevitable, because it just fucking piece of shit person. Let's just forget about that and move on. But anyway, the point of the matter is, the day I was thrown out and became homeless, ironically, I leveled up. I got to the second level of the game, because being homeless was an upgrade. Now, imagine being with a person who's such a horrible human being that being homeless is better than being around that person. Like, just let that sink in for a minute. The first 2 days that I was homeless, I was in a fucking daze. I was completely shot out mentally. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. You would not know what that feels like unless you've been there. You know, that doesn't mean you can't have empathy for somebody who's going through something like that. But you would never be able to put yourself in that person's shoes unless you've worn those shoes yourself. The thought of what it feels like to actually be homeless and to be tossed to the fucking street where pretty much nobody in this world gives a fuck about you, and as far as they're concerned, you can fuck off and die like that, and you don't even have a place to sleep, a roof over your head. Like, and then to think about the fact that that was an upgrade for me. That was an upgrade for me. To be homeless was that was a level up. That was level 2. That was, I mean, after the first 2 days of holy shit, what the hell's happening? Is this for real? Like, you know, just like the thoughts that go through your head. You couldn't even imagine nobody could ever imagine what I've actually been through unless you've been through some of it. I'm like, I know so many people who would have killed themselves 10 times over by now after going through the shit I've been through. I know people who would not, I'm thinking of specific people that if they were put in a situation, one of 20 situations I've been through in the last couple of years, they'd have fucking done it. They would have done it. But in spite of all of that, being homeless was an upgrade from being with this piece of shit. And so I leveled up. But right before I leveled up, it was like everything was falling apart. I was so out of my mind, in a panic, in fear, and just like not knowing what to do, who to call, who to talk to, just like desperately trying to find a way to save myself and to protect myself. And it just felt like, I mean, my best friend knows what I felt. He was like beside himself when I was going through this. Like, he was just dumbfounded that I was being treated the way I was being treated. A lot of people were. And even the people that I met after that, becoming homeless, like a lot of the people I've met and the connections I've made and the friends that I've made and even the acquaintances that I've made are all just like, wow, that was pretty fucking low. But at the same time, it was a step up. And just getting away from that toxic situation. But right before it happened, it if I go back in time and put myself in that chair that I was sitting in at the time, and how I felt leading up to that, I'm in a whole different, like, you've seen me get in a bad mood the last few weeks. It's nothing. Like, I'm not feeling anything close to what I felt when I was about to be living in the streets. Like, not even close right now. No, my worst day since I moved in the tiny house is still better than the best day I ever had living with that toxic witch. So, not even close. Not even close. Like, the worst day I've had here, not even close to the best day there. But right before I became homeless, it was just, it felt like the world was about to drop. And then all of a sudden I leveled up. And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, this is better. This is better. This is a step up. But time marched on. The summer dragged on. Jamestown wasn't working out for me. I couldn't find a job anywhere. Every time someone would hire me, they'd fire me on the first day because they couldn't, because you said mean things on Twitter. We'll hire 10 fucking child molesters to come work at Target, but that's because, they let 40-year-old child molesting men go to the women's bathroom at Target to get a sneak peek at little girls going pee-pee. And they're fine with that, so they'll hire a bunch of child molesters to work there, but not a guy who said mean things on the internet. No fucking way. And other companies, these woke corporations, they wouldn't give me the time of day. They would hire me, and then they'd say, oh, you're not hired after all. Bye. And, Jamestown was a dead end, a miserable place. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be there. I didn't want to be anywhere near. Anyway, even though the situation was an upgrade, as the summer dragged on, it started to feel worse and worse and more hopeless and more hopeless. And the probation officers weren't making it any easier because they were just keeping me in limbo. In fact, my lawyer and other people involved were, people were going to step in on my behalf and try to force somebody's hand until a probation officer in Pittsburgh got a hold of me and said she was going to take action because she thought that, I don't know exactly what happened, but I think on the inside of this whole thing, some phone calls, I think some things were said. I don't know, I don't want to say anybody got in trouble, but something was done because I was not supposed to be just tossed to the streets and left to fend for myself after just being released from prison. There might be something I can do. Some of the things that have been done to me, I don't know. If I had a good lawyer, if I could afford a good lawyer, I might be able to get paid. So I'm just going to put it like that. So anyway, I'm just trying to live my life. So anyway, living that whole summer in limbo, not knowing, do I have to go to Pittsburgh? Can I go to Houston? Can I stay in Jamestown? What the fuck am I going to, the whole thing. And everything just started to feel worse and worse and worse. And, living in a homeless shelter that long starts to wear you out. You see people come into the shelter, you see them get a key to an apartment, and you see them get a job and leave the homeless shelter. You're still sitting there going, what the fuck? Why can't I even get a job at Burger King? Let alone, why can't I do anything? Filled out almost 500 job applications and couldn't get a single fucking you're hired. And so everything just started to wear out. The cold weather was starting to set in. New York summer only lasts a month. August 1st, it was 40 degrees outside. It's starting to get cold. It's starting to get miserable. Everything, it was the same kind of cycle. Everything just felt like it was falling apart and I was completely being torn apart. And then boom, all of a sudden I can move to Houston, and boom, all the money and everything I needed for that to happen fell into place, like boom, 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 boom. All at once, fast. So just when everything was looking like it was at its darkest hour, and it just, like, finally it really got to the point where I was really starting to fall apart mentally. And then boom, it was fixed. Very fast. And very random. Oh my, like the level of which things just fell out of the sky to make things happen. It was just amazing to watch. It was God at work. It wasn't me. You know, a lot of it was being at the right place at the right time and things like that. And some of it was, things I had done the day I got out of prison were paying off today, kind of stuff. Things I did in those 3-4 weeks that I was living with that witch. Even though I was being screamed at, being called a lazy piece of shit every day, so many of the things that I did those few weeks set me up for success later on down the road. Some of the wins that I've gotten lately have come from the things that I did then. You plant seeds, they take a while to grow. And so, anyway, it just felt like everything was really bleak and hopeless, and then boom, the door opened and I got to go to level 3. Got to come to Houston, live with my friend. And there were a lot of challenges there. Number one, the DMV. I wanted to get a car. I had money coming in. I felt like I could go and get a car, but I was having all this problem with the DMV here, not letting me get a Texas driver's license. And I'm still to this day waiting for the birth certificate that I ordered from the state of New York back in October. It's almost April 1st. And I paid 80 fucking bucks to the state of New York to get that birth certificate. And it's almost April 1st and there's no fucking word about when that birth certificate's coming. The only reason I was able to fix the problem is I found out because I was born in Monroe County, which is Rochester, New York. The city of Rochester has its own vital records department, and they can get you a birth certificate faster than the state of New York can get you. But if I was born in the county where I lived growing up, I would still be waiting for a birth certificate and still wouldn't have a Texas driver's license to this day. So thank God I was born in a town 10 miles from where I lived. Because if they went to the other hospital, I'd be fucked right now. I'd be royally fucked. Just they had an option, this hospital or that hospital. They went to the right hospital, and it was over the county line, and because it's on the other side of the county line, I have a Texas driver's license now, but that's it. So there was that challenge, and then there was the challenges of trying to figure things out down here and trying to find a place to live, and also dealing with the fact that I'm living at my friend's house, but it's not my house. It's like they're letting me stay here until I get on my feet. But, I didn't feel like I had to tiptoe around the house and that kind of stuff. But it's hard. It's hard having a guest that stays at your house for, 4 months. It's especially hard having a guest that stays at your house for 4 months when you barely know the person. I've known my best friend since we were in 10th grade in high school. I've known his wife very little before living in their house. And then they have a daughter. And it's a big house, and there is a lot of room. I had my own bedroom and a place to work and to sit and, use my computer and stuff. But that's hard for everybody there, including me and them. It was a good experience. I don't have any complaints. It helped me a lot. But as the time was ticking for me to get out of there, I was really going through it. Like, I was feeling like I just had all these feelings like I'm gonna fall flat on my face and I'm gonna end up homeless again, and I'm not, it just, everything felt like it was in free fall again. There was a lot of that going on in my head. And then the way that this whole tiny house thing came together and the way it all kind of happened right when it needed to, and everything just kind of fell into place. Even the bicycle that I bought the day before I moved in here just kind of popped up out of nowhere, and it was a fucking $1,200 bicycle that was almost brand spanking new. Hardly ever, I mean, I can tell that this thing's hardly been ridden. He went on he rode for the cure for cancer once a year, and he probably spent the rest of the year in the garage. This fucking bike is great, and I paid $300 for it, and it fell into my lap, and the means to go get it, and like everything just fell into place. But like the door, I was really stressed out about getting a place by February 1st, and for literally for like from like Thanksgiving all the way through to a week before February 1st, I was in a panic attack state of mind, not knowing what to do, where to turn, where to go. I couldn't find anything. Everything's too expensive. There's nothing close. There's not, just boom, boom, just nothing but chaos and feeling like I'm going to fall flat on my face. And a week before February 1st, I find this place. The guy's really cool. I had the money. Boom, boom, boom. It's done. It's done. I'll be back on Friday. I'll be back on Saturday to move in. And it all just clicked. But it happened like right up until the day it happened. I was really like the panic and fear that I was feeling inside. I didn't really let it show externally. I just tried to play cool and act like everything's fine. But in my mind and in my heart and in my soul, I was really like, I was in a panic attack mode. Like, the same, not quite the same level as when I was about to be homeless, but I was feeling it. I was feeling it really hard. And then everything just happened right at once. And that's the third example of how right before you have a breakthrough, right before you get to the next level, everything just kind of feels like it's really crunch time, and it's really hard, and how am I going to get here, and you feel stuck. You feel stuck. That's a big part of it. And so I was thinking about this, and I can think of 20 other examples in my life where you get to a point where you're just stuck and everything feels like it's falling apart. And not only that, you're panicking and you're feeling stuck, like you can't move forward, and it, all of it. How am I going to pay my bills next month? Whatever. I can, time after time after time after time again. And here's one. It's just a random one. I was in a relationship. I told somebody the other day at the bakery, they were asking me why I've never been married. And I said, because every time I go shopping for a ring, that's when my relationships fall apart. So now I'm like terrified to even think about buying a ring for somebody, because the second I pick out a ring, my relationships die. Like time and time and time again. I'm like, okay, this is the one I want to spend my life with. I'm going to go get a ring. I go pick out a ring, and then boom, it just completely, it's like a bomb goes off, and there's just body parts all over the fucking floor. It's like the first episode of the show The Boys. The dude's about to be with the love of his life, and A-Train comes through, and boom, she blows up in a cloud of blood and bones. And that's literally how it happens. For not like nobody's died, but that's how suddenly my relationships explode. the second I decide I want to go get a ring for this one, I want to put a ring on it, boom, it's over. And so I was in this relationship, and I thought at the time this was going to be the one I spend my life with. And I picked out a ring. And then, like, 3 weeks later, boom, it's over. Just like that. And not even a week after that, boom, you're fired from your job. And not even a week after that, boom, something else blows up. And it was just like all these things, boom, 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 boom. Like one after the next, after the next, after the next. And for a few months, I was just dumbfounded and lost and just trying to pick up the pieces of a shattered life. Not as bad as I am right now, but back then this felt pretty significant. You lose the one you're just about, you picked out a ring for someone and the relationship's over. Like 4 days later, you're fired from your job. 4 days after that, something other crazy thing happens. A few days later, your vehicle falls apart, needs a major repair you can't afford now. On and on and on and on and on. And so, but in that situation, I went from there, I leveled up within a couple of months of everything feeling like it was completely falling apart and dying on me. And it just, it's hard to explain, but it was like everything collapsed and crashed and exploded all at once, all around me. It was like I was in shell shock. There, a grenade blew up here and a mortar blew up here and another thing, and I just watched somebody got their head blown off over there. It was like D-Day. Somebody, the flamethrower guy, someone shot the tank and he's burning alive, like on the beach and covered in flames, and I'm just laying in the fucking sand going, holy fuck, what the hell do I do? And a few weeks later, I'm marching on Berlin, and we're blowing up the Reichstag. You know what I mean? But right before the victory, it felt like I was about to lose it all. And so this is a pattern. I can talk about this time and 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 time again, of how many times it felt like everything was about to be done right before everything got great. And so over the last few weeks, I've been feeling this with this crazy amount of bicycling, with being stuck, being unable to do the things I'm supposed to do, just like all these things swirling around the probation. Can I get early release from the probation? Can I get a pardon from Donald Trump? Whatever. All these different thoughts, all these different things, like there's just so many different, all these things blowing up. How can I pay my rent next month because I'm not making enough at the, it's like no matter where I go, it's just, I get a lead for a 6-figure job that's like 4 miles away. I could walk to it every day, and then they're just like, no. And won't tell me why, which leads me to believe they on Google, oh fuck no, that's my thought is what happened. I haven't reached out to the person I need to reach out to find out why, but I am going to. I just need to have a day where I do that. It's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I will be sending an email and hoping to get some sort of feedback, even if it is, oh yeah, they looked you up on Google and saw that you're a convicted felon and you can go fuck yourself. You're never going to get a job in this line of work, and I'm never going to talk to you again. Goodbye. Ghosted. So, but anyway, I had this analogy that I keep coming back to over the last couple of days. And so I'm a video game guy, right? And when you're talking about leveling up, when you're playing any video game, it don't matter. It could be Assassin's Creed, it could be Grand Theft Auto, it could be, Forza Motorsport, it could be Super Mario Brothers, it could be Zelda, whatever the fuck. When you're about to level up, what usually happens? It gets hard. You get to the end of a level, and a lot of times you get to the end of a level, like traditionally in video games, you get to the end of the level, and what do you got to do? You got to fight some boss. Sonic the Hedgehog, the first few levels are like, oh wow, it's easy. You just run around and you scoop up these rings, and oh, if you get hit, your rings go flying out, but as long as you pick a few back up, you don't die. And you just get some more rings, and oh, I hit that spike, but oh, I got a couple of rings, and you just keep going and flying around, and then all of a sudden you get to a boss, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And you gotta, and you get killed, and you're like, damn it, and then you come back and you try it again, and you get killed. You bounce off of him, and you oh, I only got one ring back. Oh fuck, no, now what? You hit him again, your ring goes flying, and it's gone. And now I'm like, oh shit, I don't got any more rings. And then, you die again. And you come back, and you die again, and you die again. And you're like, fuck this, fucking goddamn, fuck this shit. And you're throwing the fucking controller and getting all mad, and you're just like, I fucking hate this game, fuck this piece of shit. And you might walk away from it for a while. You might not play it for 3 days. You come back. You get killed a couple more times, and then what happens? You finally beat the boss, and now you're on level 2. And typically in a video game like that, what happens when you get to level 2? All of a sudden it gets easy again. You start flying through level 2, and there's 4 sub-levels to level 2, and you get through the first 3 sub-levels like they're nothing. And it's easy again, and you cruise for a while. And then you get to the 4th sub-level of level 2, and there's either some tricky jump that you got to figure out, and you keep falling into the pit and falling onto the spikes and getting killed, or you keep falling into the lava because you can't figure out the timing of this fucking bridge, or these stupid little fucking platforms that you got to try and figure out how to jump onto without falling off, or you're on the ice world and you keep sliding off the fucking cliff and you get motherfucking fuck this fucking shit. Right? That's what happens when you play video games. I see it all the time. It's not just me. Sometimes my best friend would see me getting frustrated about something going wrong with a website that I'm building, and I'm like wrestling with code, and I'm like, fuck. And I'd just look back at him and be like, yeah, I'm playing Call of Duty. Playing Call of Duty, because that's what he does if he gets shot in the head 3 times in a row, he's like ready to throw the controller through the TV. Not that he will, but he's fuck and shit like that. And just kind of screaming and yelling. And so you get frustrated, and then you figure it out, and all of a sudden you get to the next level. And then you're on level 4 or 5. You're on level 5. And you start, it's all of a sudden it's easy for a while. And you play in Grand Theft Auto. Everything's fine and dandy. You rob a bunch of cars, you beat up a bunch of hookers, you complete some missions, you delivered the drugs, but then you get to your first bank robbery, and before you know it, the FBI and the military show up with tanks, and there's you can't, every time you try and rob the bank, you get killed. Or you get arrested, and you can't get away with the cash. And it gets frustrating, and you keep trying again and again and again, and you can't rob the bank. You can't rob every time you try and rob the damn jewelry store, you end up getting shot. Or you end up on some 2.5-hour police chase. You can't get rid of the helicopters. You can't get rid of... The FBI won't leave you alone. You can't get rid of your 4 or 5 stars that you get, you no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you can't, you're, every time you get out of the car and you run, you're lucky to be alive because you're getting shot from every direction. And but then all of a sudden, after like a few tries, all of a sudden you get in the private jet, you fly away, you got away with it, you landed on the other side of San Andreas, and you got the money where it had to go, and all of a sudden you can buy a mansion and a penthouse and a bunch of expensive cars, and the money in your bank account never, no matter how you've got so much money in the bank at this point that no matter what you do, you can't be poor anymore. You've leveled up. You've got to that level in the game. But sometimes right before you level up, things get really, 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 really hard and really difficult to the point sometimes you just want to give up. I can think of in the early Assassin's Creed games. Oh my God, there were some levels with these puzzles, and I would just, if the controllers weren't so expensive, I would have thrown them. I would have thrown them at the wall because you would literally just go through this whole entire thing through like an old Roman building with all these things. You have to time it just right and swing on this fucking rope and climb this ladder and avoid these blades like Indiana Jones trying to run through something with all these blades and arrows flying at you. And you finally get to the last platform and you jump and you miss it, and you have to start all over again. And even if you didn't die from the fall, you're just like, fuck it, dude, I gotta go for a walk. I can't do this anymore. And so a lot of these feelings in these video games that you go through, you're like right at the knife's edge of getting to the next level. But you get stuck. And things get really, really hard, and everything feels impossible, and it feels like it's all falling apart. And why the hell did I buy this stupid fucking game if I can't? Why did I get myself into this? And, all these different thoughts. And then all of a sudden, finally you get through. Whether it's your hard work or whether it's divine intervention from the man upstairs, whatever. He opens a door, you do something to unlock it. However it happens. And then all of a sudden you could just sit back and go, for a minute. Sometimes for a bit. And I feel like that so many times. So many of these levels. Like, when I was living with the Wicked Witch of Jamestown and ended up homeless, after the second day, I was like, I could just relax for a minute. I didn't even know what it felt like to relax until after I was homeless, because I couldn't do that prior to being homeless. But tensions rose, things got hard, the puzzles got harder. I ended up, you end up fighting the boss at the end of the level. Sometimes the boss is, sometimes you're up against Cruella de Vil and she's trying to take your dog, and you got to protect your dog from turning into a coat, and you got to get away. And that's getting, you got past the first boss, and then maybe the second boss is, you got to escape from the homeless shelter, and you gotta escape from the bed bugs and from some guy who smells like a corpse because he hasn't had a shower in 6 months, and whatever. You got to get away. You got to escape. You got to beat a boss. You got to rise to some challenge. Figure out some puzzle, and then on your way to Texas, you find a beautiful campsite on the shore of a lake, and and a pile of firewood sitting there when you pull up in your van, to the point where, there's like 6 days of firewood just sitting there waiting for you. when you pull into the campsite and you pull out a hammock and a chair, and 5 minutes later you're sitting by a fire going, oh. And then you get to your best friend's house, and now you're in a house and you don't have a curfew, and for the first time in almost 3 years you're sitting on a fucking couch with a remote control in your hand and a TV, and you're just like, you don't even know what to fucking do with yourself, because it's been 2.5 years since you sat on a couch, 2.5 years since you watched TV and could just watch whatever you want and turn up the volume so you can hear it. And because, you know, my friend and his family, they're like, oh, we're going to go to New Orleans for 3 or 4 days. Have at it. Enjoy the house. And you're just like, oh. Like, you got past the boss, and now you get to relax because now you're on level 3, level 4 or whatever. And for a while, you just get to cruise and keep playing the game. But as you get towards the end of level 3 or the end of level 4, things are going to ramp up and they're going to get hard. And at some point, you might have to, you know, you might be banging your head against the wall or throwing the controller or getting really pissed off about things in the game. And then all of a sudden, you get through, sometimes by the skin of your ass, but you get through, and then level 5 starts, and it's just like, and it's easy again for a while. And so that's kind of what's happening right now. I can feel it. I got into this tiny house. I took a deep breath and just chilled. First 3-4 weeks. I would say, well, the first 2 weeks were pretty mellow. The Valentine's week was really difficult. And after that, it's been getting progressively harder. And my energy has been getting progressively less. And last week, you can see it in the videos, that I'm just getting completely burned out and completely destroyed mentally from all the stuff that's going on. And all of a sudden I feel stuck again. I feel like there's challenge. I feel like I'm getting to the boss of the level. I'm getting to I'm getting to the part of the level 4 where everybody starts throwing their controller and getting pissed because there's this really hard part that you're going through. And you got to get past that part before you can go to the next level. And when you go to the next level, you'll get to chill out for a bit. But you got to figure out how to get there. And so, over the last weekend, specifically over the last weekend, I'm not going to talk about the things, but a whole bunch of things happened all at once. Between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and even today. A lot of it was yesterday, Saturday, but over the last 4 days, a whole bunch of things took place that in and of themselves were pretty insignificant and not anything that really matter in the grand scheme of it all. But the fact that all of them happened at the same time are all pointing to it's the way things it's just the way things start to stack up when you're about to break through to another level. And I've been thinking about this all day, and I'm like, things are coming into my mind and leaving, but there's at least 10 different things. I just can't think of them all right now as I talk. But there's a whole bunch of things that just, it's like all the stars lined, all the planets lined up in a straight line this weekend. And we're just like boom, 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 boom. And nothing is, the door hasn't unlocked yet. The Stargate isn't active. Like the chevrons didn't line up just right yet. And the space-time jump hasn't, like, it's not open yet to walk through. But it seems like things are starting to lock into place. It's kind of like the point in the movie Stargate where the nerd figures out all the symbols in the order of which they have to be thrown into the Stargate to make it work, but they haven't actually turned on the Stargate just yet. It's kind of how it felt this weekend. Just weird things that, like, I'm not going to talk about the specifics because, like, I can't even think of them if I can't make the list of 10. I'd have to hit the stop button and write down all 10 things. But I know that I have thought of 10 different things that happened in the last few days that have told me that the door is about to unlock and something's about to happen. And I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. Something, it's just got that air about it. You know, one of the things I will say is that, like, the whole week was looking like I was going to be riding my bicycle in a torrential downpour Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, and Saturday afternoon. And believe me, if you saw the weather reports, the radar, everything was indicating you're about to get fucking wet. I got like 4 drops of water on me. There's some other things that, like, at the bakery, and there's some other things, like some different things that some, how do I put it? Like, there's one specific thing I'm thinking of, but now I can't even remember what it was, but I thought about it earlier today, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. It doesn't, the specifics don't matter. It's just that I've noticed a bunch of different things clicking into place in different way. Oh, one thing I can say would be Saturday. So some things happened at the bakery on Saturday that were like clicking into place. There was a friend of mine that something's clicking into place with him, and it might have an effect on me. I don't know. I'm going to see. I really don't know, but I think some things are going to click into place there. Something else clicked into place yesterday. The YouTube channel. For 2 months in a row, I'll get a payout. That happened yesterday. That also happened yesterday. It's not a big payout, but I got paid in March. I got paid sometime in September, and I haven't reached the threshold until March, or until the end of February. So I got a payout in March. During the month of March, I reached enough to get another payout for April. And that happened yesterday. And then what else? And then the landlord, when I came home, so some things happened at the bakery yesterday, and that came out of the blue. And then I came home from the bakery, and before I even set foot inside the tiny house, the landlord was there with the plumbers saying that the hot water is going to be fixed on Tuesday. And it was just like, that's what I'm getting at. Like, click, 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 click. And there's like maybe 3 more things I could add to this list. I'm either not going to, or I can't remember. But just click, 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 click. Things just clicking into place all of a sudden. And so I feel like there's a door about to unlock. Like I said, it feels like the nerd on Stargate, that scene in the movie where he figures out what all the symbols mean, and then they show him the Stargate, and then he's like, "Oh, here's how you open the thing," but they haven't turned the thing on yet, but they're about to. Now they know how to turn on the Stargate because the nerd figured it out, but they haven't turned it on just yet. So, like, That's what it feels like for me. I'm like at the point where the nerd is figuring out the symbols and what order they got to go in to unlock the gate, but he hasn't. We're not quite there yet, but it's coming. That's what it feels like right now. Like there's no, like it's inevitable. The gate's gonna unlock. I'm gonna step through it, and I'll be on like level 5. Or let's see, if level 1 was coming out of prison, level 2 was being homeless, level 3 was being at my friend's house, level 4 was moving into the tiny house. Yeah, so I'm about to unlock the Stargate that takes me to level 5. But it's not quite there, but I feel like it's going to unlock soon. And so yeah, I'm trying to do what I can do, but I'm also sitting, God doesn't really, for me, this is my experience, he doesn't just let me sit on my ass and wait for him to do things. I had to get my bicycles fixed. I wanted to just sit and watch movies today. God's not going to fix my bicycles for me. I wish he would. I mean, if I had faith the size of a mustard seed, according to Jesus, I could tell a mountain to go from here to there and it would obey. Why can't I make God fix my bicycles for me? If I can make the mountains move, why can't God tune up my bicycles and make them brand new and perfect and perfectly tuned and clean and why do I have to take apart the hub and re-grease the bearings? Why can't Jesus do it? If I have that little bit of faith. I guess but no, that's usually not how it works for me. I have to get up off my ass and go do the thing. But God will sometimes he'll make the weather hold back. I kind of had a pact with myself today that if the weather's good, I'm going to do what needs to be done. If the weather's bad, I'm going to take it as a sign to do nothing today and relax and refresh myself and refresh my mind. And, that's what I'm going to do today. Well, the weather was good. And so, and I still, man, I'm sitting in this chair this morning and I'm like, I already knew if I sit in this chair all day and just take a down day when the day was nice enough to get things done, tomorrow I'm going to wake up feeling guilty and feeling like crap and having to ride a bicycle where the brake pads are so worn out that they might be grinding metal on metal at some point. If they're not quite there, but I would say within 2 weeks. I know how the brake pads were getting down to, they're not past the wear markers yet, but 2 more weeks they'd be flat with no wear markers visible anymore. And once they get past the wear markers, it's literally just a matter of miles before you start hearing metal grinding against metal, and that's the sound of your rims being chewed away by metal brake posts digging into the side of your wheels. And so I knew it had to be done. And I also have this brand new bicycle that why did I buy this thing if I'm not going to ride it? And I would have, tomorrow I would have been like, man, you could have been riding that bike today if you had just got off your lazy ass. So, like I said, God doesn't there was this kid in art school. His name was Archie. He was a great guy. He's a cool dude. Everybody loved this guy. But it's like we used to have this joke where we used to have this joke about how he would sit around and pray for God to do his homework for him because he didn't want to do it. And God's not going to do your homework for you. You got to do it yourself. But he will open the door and he'll make it possible for you to get where you need to go. But he wants you to walk there. It's like if you've got to climb a mountain, God's not, you don't get to sit in a lazy boy recliner Or, like, okay, if you have to climb a mountain, it's not like you get to be Cleopatra where you get to sit in a padded chair with a canopy over it while a bunch of slaves carry you around on their shoulders while you just sit and eat grapes while you're being carried up the mountain by your slaves. No, God wants you to walk. But if you're willing to take a few steps towards the top of the mountain, Jesus will come down and he might give you a piggyback ride for a part of the climb. Like you might not have to climb the whole mountain on your own. Or he'll come keep you company. One way or another, he'll open up some sort of way to make the journey easy for you. But he's waiting for you to start taking the steps to get there. You look at the top of the mountain that's 20 miles away and you're like, how am I going to get there? And the answer really is you put one foot in front of the other and eventually you'll be there. But when God's on your side and when he's about to like catapult you to the next thing that he wants you to do, you'll take 10 steps towards the mountain and all of a sudden somehow, it's like you're riding your bicycle and all of a sudden you get a huge tailwind and the wind is pushing you where you have to go. So like I got to go on this 20-mile ride to the bakery, and I can't, it sucks, and how am I going to get there? And then you get out on the road and there's a 40-mile-an-hour wind behind you, pushing you all the way there. So now, not only did, it normally takes an hour and a half to get there, but today it took 50 minutes because the crazy wind blew me all the way there. That's that's what it feels like when God steps in to help you along. But when you're going the direction that God doesn't want you to go, it's like you get on your bicycle and you head in that direction and you've got a 50, 60 mile an hour wind pushing you backwards. So every time you turn the pedal cranks, one rotation, you want to quit, you want to give up, you can't do it. It'll take you an hour and a half to go as far as you would normally go in 15 minutes because of how bad the wind is. When, he'll push you in the direction he wants you to go, and he'll push against you when you're going the wrong way. But he won't do it for you. He won't do, he just won't like magically teleport you to where you want to go. Like we're on the Starship Enterprise or whatever. I mean, it just don't work like that. So, I don't know. Something's in the air this weekend. I can tell. I don't know exactly how things are going to shake up. It could get more frustrating and I could get even more irritated and frustrated over the next week or two. But I also see possibilities that I could make a few phone calls and all of a sudden be in a whole different place a week from now. And optimistic and like at level 5. Like, I could be like a level 5 apprentice wizard instead of a noob. Or, I don't know what the first 2 levels would be. But, a level 5 apprentice wizard's not a bad place to be. I mean, you're not a level 50 master warlock, but, you got to start somewhere. So hopefully maybe maybe a week from now, I'll be a level 5 apprentice wizard on my way to becoming a full-fledged magician. Without having to be an apprentice. But we'll just see how it goes. And with that, I am going to say peace out. And we'll talk again.